take the breath. Let's move through the breath and just relax in. Lean inward into that sanctuary within. We allow whatever thoughts might cross our mind while we move into meditation to just flow through. Non-resistance. Non-resistance. The mind ideates, it's what it does. We don't have to change anything about that. We simply allow the flow. And we move beneath those thoughts into the space of quiet underneath, into the sanctuary within. Feeling that this morning, feeling that coziness, that love, that warm, enveloping energy that allows us to remember that we are within Godness, that we are held and supported in God. There's nothing we need to do right now. It's all about being in the moment, allowing the movement, breathing the breath. Sanctuary. Sometimes we may think it's somewhere out there, but really sanctuary is that quiet space within. No matter what is happening outside, we are in sanctuary always. We have that space within. We allow the movement, the sounds, all the things that happen in the world on the outside to just happen as we sit steeping in Godness. We feel the power, the presence, the loving energy of God within. The power, the presence of the guidance that we know is there if we need it. Of the strength that is there to call upon. And we just take a moment and remember this room that we're sitting in. For those of us here in the building, we can feel all of our fellow Unity members around us. We just reach out in this moment and remember that they're there. Another form of sanctuary, this space where we come together and know laughter and love, acceptance, gratitude. We know we are valued for who and what we are. God in skin brought here to do something and be something no one else can do or be. So we just take a moment of appreciation and we send that appreciation out. If we're at home right now in this meditation, we can send it here, we can send it there, we can send it anywhere that we feel that appreciation should be visited. We appreciate our beloved Josh, who is virtually streaming this meditation this morning to all who need it, and he is in his home this morning. We know that walls don't contain us. We send Josh and all those in our family who are outside of this building this morning that love, that appreciation, wellness and wholeness, support and strength, gratitude and love. And we we just take a moment to feel that love and gratitude and support received, even as we send more out in this infinite giving and receiving cycle in the silence. And then with another breath, we just let it land. The gratitude, the support, the waves of wellness and wholeness, the presence of God, awareness, source in all things, and us connected to that source, within that source. Grateful for the opportunity to be right where we are right now. We allow it to resonate in the frequency of God. And so it is. And amen. Amen. I swear Tracy and I have become tethered by some psychic thread that neither one of us knew was placed, but Tracy had a different song to sing this morning. And she said to me, this morning I was in the quiet and this song just kept coming to me. So I think it was last Sunday.
You mentioned Incubus.
Yeah. Last Sunday, I did a quote from an Incubus song. For those of you who don't know, Incubus is kind of a hard rock / techno group. So I don't know how many churches in the solar system had an Incubus song in them this morning, but I had shared, "Blessed she who clearly sees the wood for the tree to obtain, or for the trees, to obtain a bird's eye can turn a blizzard to a breeze." And they're very philosophical, but it's hard rock and DJs and all that kind of stuff, so it's not really necessarily churchy. And so Tracy said this morning, I just thought, oh my gosh, I got to do that song. We're talking about wisdom. We're talking about deciphering the way forward and allowing things to be. And what Tracy didn't know, so another piece of yesterday was my son called me yesterday morning, and you may know that my son's about to get married in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now. My son is getting married. The whole family is beyond thrilled because we've not only gained an amazing daughter-in-law, we have gained an amazing family. And we have come together as family across cultures and across language barriers and across all sorts of things. And it has been such a beautiful experience to have my daughter-in-law to be coming into our family and bringing hers. And making it ours. And so yesterday morning, my son called me, and he and I have been looking for that lovely song that for the mother-son dance at the wedding. There's the father of the bride and the bride dance, and the mother of the groom dances with the groom. And so I sent him all the typical ones. If you Google, first dance with mother and son for the wedding, there's "My Wish for You," by Rascal Flatts. There's What a Wonderful World. There's some that immediately pop to your mind because they're beautiful sentiments and beautiful songs. And so my son called me yesterday morning, and I think everybody here knows, and I've talked about it often, is, my husband passed about almost 4.5 years ago now. Gosh, Tina, can you believe that? Tina and I have, Andy, the reason I'm standing here, Andy passed, and so Tina and I are about half a year apart, 4 months apart in our grieving process of losing our husbands, because Andy died 4 months before my Tim died. And so my my late husband was not either of my children's father, and my son is closer to him than he was to his own father, or is currently. Sorry, but his father is still with us. And so my son called yesterday morning, and when women say we have to talk, your stomach just goes, oh God. Well, when my son says, can I have a talk with you? That's what mine does, because my son very rarely does anything like that. And my son called me up this morning and he said, Mom, I really appreciate these songs you've been sending me, but we don't have any connection to any of these songs. And he said, and I just wanted to talk to you because we really want Tim at the wedding. And that's my late husband. And I didn't know what he was going to say. What, you want me to bring his cremains? What does this mean? My son is on the autism spectrum, and so you really don't know what it's going to mean when he gets an idea and follows it. So I thought, well, this could look really weird or whatever, and I'm like, what does this mean? And he said, see, my late husband at one point in his life was a roadie for John Denver, and absolutely adored John Denver. And so but before this, we're talking, so we were talking about songs. What song could we dance to? And my daughter-in-law says, what's that Incubus song the two of you keep singing together? Drive by Incubus. So Tracy caught that vibe in the ether, because I wasn't going to say anything about this today and what it did within me, but here we go. Because thank you, Tracy, but for letting me know that it's in the flow. And so my son said, I think we need to dance to a John Denver song and make sure Tim is at the wedding. And I thought, okay. And so we cried together for a little bit, and he said, I got to be honest, Mom. He's 27, and he said, the only John Denver song I really know is Sunshine on My Shoulders. And he said, it's an okay song. We could dance to that, right? And I said, probably, but let me look a little further. And there is a John Denver song, and if you haven't heard it, I would encourage you to go looking for it. And Steve and I were talking this morning and saying this should be on every mother, son, father, daughter dance list in the universe. It's called The Gift You Are by John Denver. And I see some nodding, so some of you know, but it wasn't one of his hits, but it is stunningly gorgeous. And I remembered that Tim was actually supposed to sing that one year at our Christmas celebration at Unity of the Palm Beaches, and he chickened out on me, and I ended up having to sing it. It's not in a girl's key, it's a guy's song. I didn't completely know the song, so I stood up there glaring at my husband while I sang The Gift You Are, like, get your butt up here and sing this song. And he would not get out of his seat. So when I remembered that song, it brought a laugh and tears at the same time. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I sent it to my son and I said, what about this one? And he sent me a text back saying, oh my God, I'm crying. We have to. So the words to this song, there will not be a dry eye in the place, and nobody who doesn't know the layer of my late husband will know what else it means. And so it's going to be this beautiful, beautiful way of bringing my late husband to the service. while I sit next to my boyfriend. Yeah. So yesterday, Dave, did you know I have a boyfriend? I didn't know. Dave teases me all the time. So yesterday, we had a drum circle here last night, and Tina had offered to come in and open, and I'm like, would you please? Because that took my whole day. And thinking about wisdom and the wisdom of moving forward, springing forward with zeal and enthusiasm, as Charles Fillmore would say, to do all that is mine to do. Do we spring forth with zeal and enthusiasm? Not this morning, I can tell you I didn't. This morning I cracked one eye open and it was pitch dark and I was like, doggone it, it's 7 o'clock already. And I felt some kind of way about the time change, right? And I was like, yes, I love the lighter evenings, don't so much like the pitch dark in the morning. And I think about wisdom. What is the wisdom in doing this? Why do we do this every year? What is the wisdom? So I went back and looked at our origins. I'll revisit the wedding story in a minute, but I went back and looked at our origins of daylight saving time. And it's daylight saving time, not daylight savings time. That's one of those things, me with being a teacher, it's like, every time I hear daylight savings time, I'm like, no, saving. And so many people attribute it to Benjamin Franklin. And they say, oh yes, Benjamin Franklin was the father of daylight saving time. So let me enlighten you this morning. Let's see. The idea voiced by Benjamin Franklin in 1784 can hardly be described as fundamental for the development of modern daylight saving time. After all, it didn't even involve turning clocks. In a letter to the editor of the Journal of Paris entitled An Economical Project for Diminishing the Cost of Light, Franklin simply suggested that Parisians could economize candle usage by getting people out of bed earlier in the morning. What's more, he meant it as a joke. So no, not the father of daylight saving time, not Benjamin Franklin. There are others who are the actual founders of daylight saving time. It was first used in Canada in 1908. Germany popularized it first in 1916, and they were turned ahead 1 hour on April 30th. Then into World War I, the rationale was to minimize the use of artificial lighting to save fuel for the war effort. That's what I always thought the beginning of it was. Then other countries followed suit. Now, they say New Zealand scientist George Vernon Hudson and British builder William Willett are actually the ones to thank or blame, depending on how you feel about this change. In 1895, Hudson presented a paper to the Wellington Philosophical Society proposing a 2-hour shift forward in October and a 2-hour shift back in March. There was interest, but it never went anywhere. In 1905, independently from Hudson, British builder William Willett suggested setting the clocks ahead 20 minutes each day for the 4 Sundays in September, a total of 8 time switches per year. In our wisdom, can't we make things really convoluted and hard, right? It's like, now I will tell you, having an autistic child that had to go to school, change is not the friend of an autistic person's wiring. And so when my son was little, before he was old enough to really realize what's happening, for the week ahead of the time change, 2 days in a row, I would turn 15 minutes earlier. 2 more days, 15 more minutes. So I did a version of this for my entire son's elementary and middle school career. And when he realized I did it in high school, he was ready to throttle me because he felt like I had gotten one over on him all of those years because we just did it a little bit at a time. Wisdom, which one is wise? I don't know. See, the thing is, right now in our world, we don't really need it. The whole reasons that it was done really don't hold water today. We are a 24-hour world these days, and light and the time that lights go on and off don't necessarily matter as much as they used to. So could we stop? Yes, we could. Will we? Wow, I don't know. Will we ever get out of our own way to make things easier? And then the debate becomes, do we permanently stay on daylight saving time or standard time? Put that in a room of people trying to discuss and let that flow and see how long it takes to come to a decision that makes sense. So when we're thinking about wisdom, when we're thinking about the wisdom of doing the things we do, yesterday pulled me back into that. This past week has been one of excitement getting ready for my son's wedding and also realizing the rite of passage that we're about to step into, and that, oh my, we moms, we get all the feels about our kids and what they're going through and everything. And so it's been like that for me all week. And then yesterday I got hit by the Mack truck of, oh no, you thought you were done with your grief? No, let's just throw another roll in there today. There is wisdom in allowing. Thank God I had Tina to call yesterday and say, please, thank you, because she offered, and then I said, yes, please, would you please go in and open for the drum circle, because I need to be with this. See, that's the thing. Like Tracy said to me this morning, it's all this wonderful stuff, right? It's the celebration of the love. How amazingly wonderful and cool is it that my son would say, I want Tim at the wedding. We want Tim at the wedding. That's beautiful and wonderful and such a celebration of love. And knowing that all that love is still there. It's amazing to know that. And so, yes, it brings me tears because it reminds me of the loss. It reminds me how different my life is today. I'm in a whole different world than I was 4.5 years ago now. And the thing is, when stuff like that hits, you may have heard of a process we talk about in Unity called chemicalization. So when we work to bring in new beliefs, when we work to shift and change, lose weight, gain weight, get a new job, start a new practice, step into a new belief system, our bodies hold everything that has ever happened in our lives. Maybe in big and maybe in small ways. Some things may go by us with barely a blip. And then, as I shared one Sunday here, you go to reach for a coffee cup and realize it was your late husband's, and it sends you off the rails for an entire day. And there is so much wisdom in being with what is. That doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it's happy. Yesterday I walked around all day feeling really weird and out of sync, and like I didn't know what foot was where and how to move through this. And I knew, because I'm just this big ball of honesty, that I would need to tell John that the song my son and I were dancing to was for Tim. And that on the wedding table, there's going to be a whole memorial and loving table of family, and there will be pictures of us in family, and John will be there as the new guy. Right? I mean, what a thing. I can't blind somebody with something like that, like I did this morning asking Mike to pray after I told him I wouldn't do that. Poor Mike. And there is a flow within us. There is a flow in this world, and it is wise to go with it. It is wise to answer the call that bubbles up underneath of something and doesn't really let you move on or focus in the day. There's so much wisdom in taking a step back and reaching into whatever it is. And gosh, maybe sometimes it feels like mud, and maybe sometimes it feels scary or uncertain or whatever it is. But I had this day yesterday that was this ball of mourning and grieving and celebrating and feeling out of place and stepping into place. And there's just this whole movement within that really needed to happen. I said to my daughter, my gosh, every time I think I run out of tears, there's another flow of them, right? And we might want to say, oh, no, it's been 4.5 years. Stop that. Rein it in. Knock it off. Buck up. Right? And if we do that, that's not wise. Because if it's in there needing to do something. And if we truly believe that this world and our life is for us, that whatever approaches us is here for us to do something with, or whatever bubbles up from within is coming up from within to be something and do something with and learn something from. If we truly believe that, then we take the day and we cry and we mourn and we celebrate and we grieve and we love and we do what it takes to move through. I got to tell you, this morning I woke up still feeling out of phase. Before I was leaving this morning, I thought, I can't imagine what in heaven's name is going to come out of my mouth this morning, because I feel like I'm somewhere in between two phases. Chemicalization. Chemicalization is the process where our body goes, I don't know what this is, but it doesn't feel right. Our whole body, the cells in our body saying to us, there is something here that I don't understand. There's something here that I need to work through. There's something here. Hold on. Stop what you're doing. I'm going to make you feel slightly nauseous for a little while so that you stop what you're doing and pay attention. I'm going to make you feel half sick today, because I need you to pay attention to this. This is valuable. This is juicy. So the next time those feelings of unease or chemicalization or something doesn't feel right, instead of grabbing a pint of Ben & Jerry's, or maybe while grabbing a pint of Ben & Jerry's, right? Sometimes we need to move through what we need to move through and realize that. There is no mistake in the fact that when we are feeling like we need to run home to mama emotionally, our body goes, mac and cheese, sugar, carbohydrates, comfort food. And then it goes, I'm exhausted. Stop what you're doing right now. It's like walking through molasses. That, my friends, is chemicalization. That is when our body chemically says, I need you to pay attention to this. Something feels weird. And what will help me through the feeling weird is if you can take time out to say, stop. Wow, I feel that. Okay, I feel it. Where is it coming from? What might it be trying to tell me? And sometimes it's right up in your face and you immediately know. And sometimes the next morning you wake up still feeling weird because you haven't processed it all yet. I had this week in relationship with someone where we're walking forward and we're navigating through the newness and the first times and the things that we've had first times with before, but this first time feels different than that first time. And we're talking about it. And we're saying, oh my gosh, I have not felt like this before, and it's uncomfortable, but it's lovely. And yeah, chemicalization. Our body needs us to allow the process. And so our body will say, I'm going to make you feel weird and think about that mac and cheese, because I know that when you eat mac and cheese, enough of it, it stops you in your tracks and you sit down and you stop. Right? There's a reason we feel those go-tos. There's a reason we feel we want a bag of potato chips or comfort food or whatever it is. It's because our body chemically knows. I can only imagine what that was. Our body chemically knows that this brings us comfort because it stops us in our tracks. So then we have an opportunity to use wisdom and to say, okay, is it wise for me to eat the whole bag of Doritos with the Slurpee? Or could I maybe have a few Doritos and a little bit of Slurpee while I get myself into a place of processing, and then I get to shift into a newer and different way of coping and learning and growing? You know what? I'll have some Doritos while I reach for my journal, and then I'm going to journal all of this while I'm eating a few Doritos. There's no reason we can't do both. There is wisdom in both. There's a reason that our body wants this. There's a reason that our brain cuts and runs. There's a reason that we get exhausted trying to sort through something we don't want to sort through. Pay attention. Then pause. It's in God. Detach from the story and the agenda. Oh, every time I do this, this is how I feel, this is what I do. This happens every single time. How many times have we said that to ourselves? Every single time. Okay. Wakey, wakey. Every single time is an invitation for change. Every single time is an invitation to make this the last time. Or the last time that it takes us that far into the spin. Or the last time that we resist the fact that it's another round of tears. Yesterday for me was a lovely celebration of love that wasn't able to be given. Love that is still there and that I can celebrate with my family 4.5 years after my husband has left his skin. There's a knowing that he lives on. There's a wisdom in celebrating that. And there's a wisdom in sharing it with this new person in my life who wants to love my family too. And my family wants to love him. But we still love Tim. And we still love Tim. There is room in our lives to move chemically through whatever we need to move through. There is room in our lives to declare that not every time this has to happen. There is room for us to authentically and truly process what's coming up for us so that we can hold the wheel and drive and not ask Jesus to take it from us. There is wisdom in going with the flow, in detaching from the end part of the story we have in our head, allowing it to become something new and different, allowing ourselves to become something new and different. Honor what has gone, embrace what is to come, and stand in the middle, allowing the chemicals that need to flow, the tears that need to flow, the embracing of the new to happen, and the becoming something we've never been before. We can do it. We can do it. God is in it with us, and we are in God as well. So hold the wheel, drive, and go to all these new and wonderful places. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you for joining us today. Please visit www.unityofsebring.org for more information, to submit a prayer request, or to donate to our ministry. We hope to see you again very soon.